Today we are building on a conversation.
That will never leave me, huh?
No, it will not. It's a thing now. It's a thing now. No, it's good. Today we're building on a conversation that we recently had on a podcast that aired with Britt Graham. And the little piece that I wanted to take and build on was discussing how, like, the importance of listening to your body and how we all go through different stages and seasons in life. You know, there might be injuries that we have, or it could just be like a really like taxing season on you, like emotionally, mentally. And we were discussing the importance of how sometimes you do have to learn how to rest maybe a little bit more in those moments, in those seasons, or maybe even like tailor your training to what your body needs most during that time. Because if you don't, then you can actually end up doing too much and it can have like an adverse reaction. So I wanted us to discuss that a little bit more. And a comment was made. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it or not.
I did, yeah.
But a comment was made that like Jonathan would never admit to having those like
off days. You and Hudson would never.
Days, or days where maybe you don't put that extra 20 pounds on the barbell because you're trying to recover from an injury or something like that. So I knew that you would. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're putting ourselves, mostly Jonathan, but all three of us in the hot seat to discuss moments throughout our training, moments throughout our lives where we've maybe had to cater our training to what our bodies are needing most for the benefit of your body and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, what do you guys have to say about that?
You're first.
Man, I hate going first.
I love this.
I mean, technically I went first though.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So the goal is to show no emotion. So I don't have hard days. It's always go 100%. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
Totally kidding. Have hard days all the time.
You have to share.
I'm going to share, bro. Just give me a second. I was saying a bad joke, just like your jokes were earlier.
He's got to breathe in between its sentences.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this now for how many years? 2011, I think, is when I started.
Jeez.
Holy
so definitely dealt with some injuries over the time. Nothing I would say, well, I've had knee surgery. I've had a few herniated discs that was making my leg numb, and that was a little time things had to be changed. Mm-hmm. For me, typically, though, like a hard day physically, I don't like those times, but I can wrap my head around being injured and getting through that stuff. Typically, like hard days is when there's a lot of stress with the gym or something like that. It's hard for me to mentally focus on wanting to train hard or putting that extra weight on or pushing myself. And I still have days where I would say that, especially as I get older, I'm not thinking that I'm old. I'll always push myself to that uncomfortable place. But I think that as I get older, it gets a little bit easier to realize where I need to dial it back a little bit. But I probably, I enjoy pushing myself. So I enjoy that push. And those days that are tough where there's a lot of stress going on, I would say that mentally it's hard, or if I'm tired, with kids and the gym, I sometimes don't get as much sleep as I would like, and it becomes a little hard to push or lift as heavy as I want and maybe not seeing the result. But I do try to not let that be used as a reason to just not do anything. And I think going back to why CrossFit is great is having that community, camaraderie. I work out with Hudson daily. He pushes me. And even in their things, he's like, hey, what do you want to do today? I'm like, dude, I don't care. Just tell me what we're doing, and I'll do it, Because it's not about, like, I have to get a certain thing in or lift a certain weight anymore. It's about I want to push myself. I want to feel good, hopefully look good from the benefits of exercise, and that's kind of where I'm at there.
For sure.
What's your worst CrossFit-related injury?
I would say that I don't know that I've ever had like a serious CrossFit related. I've always had lower back issues even since I was a little kid, playing a lot of soccer, all the rotation exercises that I probably should have been doing and wasn't. But yeah, it kind of
carrying the team on your back. That's
no, I was never that guy. I wish I was, but I was never that guy. I would say that the herniated discs and my leg just going numb, mentally that messes with you quite a bit, because you're like, should I do? And then you have people being like, yeah, you'll never squat again. I've had a few people say that, or you should never. And then you realize like, oh, I can make this better by doing the correct exercises.
Yeah.
So mentally, I've had knee surgery also. I would say it's probably soccer related. There were some bone spurs in there. They cleaned out, repaired my meniscus, cleaned out some bone spurs. But I wouldn't say that those are actually CrossFit related. I've had some impingements, but overall, I don't want to jinx myself here, but kind of know that limit where I'm at since I've been doing it so long of where to not go and make sure that I don't hurt myself too bad.
Yeah. I would call that like wisdom, and then learning. I feel like all of us have like a sports background and have played in sports, and we've been doing CrossFit for a while now. And some of it is just like having to learn how to not let like our pride get in the way. And, you know, that I feel like that's like a huge part of it. And then realizing and knowing your body as you change with age, and I think it's wisdom and being smart with it, and then not allowing the pride to get in the way, because that can be a hard thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it changes as you get older. Like we joke when we're all in our 30s, and we have these guys come in that are in like early 20s, and they're just going crazy in workouts, and we laugh because we're not like, oh my gosh, they're so fit or they have so much energy. But it's the reality of when you get older, you go, well, I don't really know if I need to try as hard today because I'm not feeling that great.
I want to be able to lift my child up later.
And you think about if you've gotten an injury before, like you said, you go, I don't know. I don't want to do that again, and I feel like I'm getting close or I'm getting tweaky or whatever, and so you go, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But the young guys will just be like, whatever, let's just do it, and then they sleep it off and whatever.
Yeah. I feel like recovery is different. Like the older that you get, I mean, you could probably.
Well, we're dying. That's how the body. So the body, we're just getting closer to the grave.
We're shrinking. Our hair's turning gray. We're getting wrinkles. No, I feel like you could attest to this a little bit more because you're super knowledgeable in like nutrition and rest.
I'm super old.
I thought she was going to say that too.
Which I am quite a bit older than both of you guys. So.
I was not.
36.
7.
Oh, wow. I thought you were younger.
How old are you?
34.
Yeah. Okay, I'm 32.
Yeah, so I'm the old guy here.
7, 4, 2. Okay. Anyway, so the nutrition and the physiology and stuff.
I had a question I was going to ask you, and then I forgot it. It was there, and then it left me.
What, just as you get older?
Yeah, like as you get older, I know it said a lot, like after you pass the age 30, and you're in your 30s, you can, like your muscle mass and all that stuff can deteriorate a lot faster, and bones and things like.
Yeah, I think you don't have to worry about that too much at 30s, but I think it's after 50, your muscle mass decreases in men. I'm not sure the number for women, but it decreases around 1% a year. And so protein intake, protein synthesis, all those things, we could go down a whole different road, becomes way more important than it did maybe when you're younger. You didn't need as much of the right nutrients and supplements, and you can get away with some of that stuff. But as you get older, it becomes harder. And I'm sure some of the people that might listen to this that are even older than us are probably laughing right now.
They're still in their 30s.
Right, but I do think that it's important. I was just thinking in my head, when I was in high school, all about sports, going into college, everyone's like, wait till you get to college, you're freshman 15, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, wait till you're done with college, you're going to gain some weight. Okay, wait till you're 30. All right, wait till you're married. Wait till you have kids.
Yeah, it's always something.
It's always something. And I think that at every stage of your life, right? I'm 37, soon to be 40. It's wait till you're 40, or wait till you're 45, or wait till you're 50. And I don't disagree with any of them. I even don't disagree with them way back then.
Yeah.
I think it's the perspective of having the knowledge of what to do, and then also having the discipline and the right people around you to make sure that you continue to put those in place, even on those hard days like we just talked about. Because the reality is for me, life is hard more than I want it to not be, if that makes sense. So I find myself having to push through those days more than just a regular day where I feel really good. Yeah. And when I was 20, that was a little different. It was like I could go in the gym and didn't have much stress. And
what do you have to stress about when you're 20?
Right. And you could just go in and get a great workout and then go eat some pizza and do it again. But
that's so true.
Yeah, it's not
but
that way.
I think I like that you're bringing up like people in their 40s and 50s, because I do feel like it has so much to do with like how disciplined you are in your nutrition and your workout routine and your sleep, which I would really need to do better at.
Yep.
But in all those things, there's several several people here that are in their 50s that would attest and say that they're in better shape now than they were when they were in their 20s. And it's because they've chosen to prioritize like their protein, their sleep, their recovery, and all those things.
I think it comes into play when, I mean, we've talked about how community is important, why CrossFit community is really important, because you'll be around people, right? Mm-hmm. And it's even, you've gotten business for your nutrition because just people have started to see me looking different, and then they've just started asking me, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, just talk to Jonathan.
Yeah.
Like, he'll help you. But that happens when you're around people and you see, and I think everyone kind of goes through some type of journey in CrossFit where you either go really serious about trying to compete or do something, or you then start to get really serious about, okay, well, if I'm not going to compete, I do want to be healthier. So now I'm going to take my nutrition a little bit more seriously. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take my fitness more seriously, my sleep. And then you start to think about and take those into consideration. And I love that because you've been a gym owner for longer than I've ever even done CrossFit. And so you've seen that trajectory, how people always kind of go through that. They'll come in and then they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this, but I do need to take this more seriously. Yeah. And I do love those people because those, they could be in their 50s, 60s, or their 20s. Mm-hmm. And I love that you get to have all those different types of people in the gym, and you can encourage each other by your own journey that you're on while you're doing that. So
yeah. Well, I feel like we've kind of scratched the surface of this. Let's make it a little bit more personal. How do you guys feel about sharing maybe something personal that you've went through where maybe it was a low in your fitness journey, and how you maintained making fitness a priority, and how you personally maybe took a step back, maybe, navigated things this way to help you get through that season of life. So let's go.
I saw you look at me. I could actually go more recent. So it's funny. I was looking back at my PRs because I hit some this week, and I was thinking about in last year, my goal was to hit a 400-pound deadlift, 225 snatch, all that kind of stuff, and I did, but I was 30 pounds heavier. Yeah. And then I had some really bad anxiety that had to do with work and home life stress. And it was to the point where I was legitimately suicidal, had to get on meds. I was already on meds, but I had to get on different meds, had to go through more counseling. And because you and I are friends, I would tell you. And then I was like, I wouldn't come to the gym because I just didn't want to be around people because I don't like being asked, hey, so how are you doing? Or
Why and I'm known not smiling
exactly because I'm known as the fun, happy guy, and everyone's like, I love your energy. So I didn't want to be the person bringing people down. But I would always. And this is a kudos to Jonathan. He's a fantastic gym owner and a great friend because he would text me. He'd be like, so I didn't see you today. Mm-hmm. Or did you come in today? Or, you would be reaching out to me. Or if you saw me, you'd be like, so how's your week been? How you been doing? Yeah. And that helped me. And you were even really understanding too, in the workouts, I never felt like people were getting on me for not pushing myself as hard. Yeah. But at the same time, I was starting to take my nutrition more seriously. Yeah. And so I focused a lot of my energy, my anxious energy, not into fretting about the gym and being like, man, why am I so gassed? Well, yeah, if my stress is super high already before I even come into the gym, and if your heart rate's already here when you come into the gym, you do CrossFit, it's not going to get any better. Yeah. So if you're not going to push yourself that hard, but at least you can care and try to focus that energy on your nutrition. And I did, and I was able to lose weight from that. And then as the anxiety subsided and I got that under control, I started to feel like, as I've done nutrition with you, now I can really start pushing myself in the gym, and I have. Yeah. But it's hard because that doesn't necessarily mean I got hurt. I did get hurt at one point in that, but what ends up happening more often than not is if you're going through a really stressful season or you have a ton of anxiety like I did, you avoid community. Mm-hmm. And that's not the move. Yeah. If the move is just throttle back the workouts, okay, you scale it. Who cares? Mm-hmm. But don't not come because that's not the scaling you need to do. Yeah. So that for me is a more recent. I mean, this was literally the beginning of the year when it started getting really bad. Mm-hmm. And it's only gotten better recently. So
yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Welcome. There you go. Yeah. I'm not just a happy person.
Same. I feel like I can relate to that a lot. In a few different ways. I've had past struggles with suicidal thoughts and depression and anxiety, and still can struggle with anxiety, Yeah. And it is so true. It's hard because when you're that person that's smiling and always trying to uplift other people, you feel guilty if you're not able to do that. So instead of coming in and just acting normal, or just not being super happy, super peppy, super upbeat, sometimes we isolate, and it's really easy to do So I think that's like really important. Something that you mentioned is like still, you know, being involved in a community, because there's been times where I've like, I mean, it's a little bit different because like this is also a full-time job for me. Mm-hmm. But like there's been times where I've like showed up to work, but then it's benefited me outside of working, because then I, you know, got to talking with a friend or even just being like around people. You know, I show up and you guys like greet me with a smile, ask how my day's going, and it could be a really sucky day, but sometimes just having someone here greeting you with a smile or just carrying on conversation can help like curve that anxiety and help you get through it. So like I love that you mentioned like making sure that you surround yourself with those people that are going to check in on you and, you know, push you in the right ways. So and I know that like we can all pick on each other sometimes and be like, why are you only doing 135 instead of 185 on the workout today? But I also feel like people know like when they can push you and challenge you in a way that's going to help you better yourself, and then like they know when to kind of like reel it in and be like, okay, I know that they really have something going on.
I will say both of you are great at it, and Jonathan's, you're very good at that. You're very good at like being able to push people, but then also knowing if it's not the right time.
Yeah.
You're encouraging rather than just kind of berating someone.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like my love language is trash talk. And
it totally is. Totally is.
Which sometimes it does get me in trouble, honestly. I like, but just as much, I love it when people, you know, banter. And if you'd hear conversations between me and Brad Holbrook, the other owner of the gym, he'd be like, dang, what, do they hate each other?
Yeah.
And really, no, we were just like arguing, but we're not serious. And it's kind of like, that's just how, I don't know, it is a love language, but really how I communicate and enjoy communication. But there also, I do know that there has to be grace there, and not everyone wants to be trash talked to all the time.
Yeah,
and
true.
I have to be careful. Yeah, I have to be careful with that for sure.
Yeah, and I like an example is I had someone talking to me in the gym. He's losing weight, but he had gained some weight, and we were talking about the workout. And this wasn't like a knock on him. I just said, hey, you're heavier, but that also means you're probably stronger. So you should actually push some of these weights. And then he got a PR in his back squat, like 40 pounds. This is the last time. And it wasn't, you know, you could easily, even if you're friends, you could jab them and be like, oh yeah, you know, you're heavier now. But I think it's that nice balance of like everyone comes into the gym at a different context, but an encouraging remark will always go over well. Because you never know if that person is going through something really hard. You know.
Yeah, for sure. So,
what about you?
About which part? The personal thing?
Yeah, like personal thing that hindered the gym or something.
I feel like, I mean, there's
you had two kids.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Probably the most obvious would be coming back postpartum. And sorry, I feel like I'm far
you
away
are. You started moving,
and I'm like rocking
away.
back and forth.
I know. What are you doing?
Because I know I'm letting it personal, and I'm like self-soothing by rocking in the rocking chair.
Well, I have a question actually along those lines before you continue.
Okay.
This gym, I feel like, should probably be known as the gym that has moms who come back like crazy early and super fit somehow after ever having babies.
Yeah.
Has that ever been a part of your thought where you're like, man, like I didn't bounce back as fast as this person?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Like a couple of different expectations and things that I placed on myself that's one thing that a lot of people say to women. Was that your throat?
Yeah. It's like such a weird little burp.
It wasn't even a burp. That was weird. It
just started escaping your mouth.
It was like,
yes, you had those postpartum stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of it was expectations that I put on myself, as in, it said, because I've worked really hard to be strong and back squat and bench press and deadlift and lifting weights is like where I more so excel.
Yeah.
And that is something that I am proud of. And it was said to me by multiple different people, well, just wait till you have babies. You won't be able to lift those weights anymore. And and so I really took that and was like, you just freaking watch me. Like, yes, I will.
Yeah.
And probably too much, like in an unhealthy direction. And so I'm not one of those that's like, you can't lift weight, you can't work out, you can't do CrossFit if you're pregnant. No, like you most definitely can.
Yeah.
But like you do need to be mindful of your body, and you do need to, scale appropriately. And so there was probably some things that I did that caused like some injuries, like in my hips and in my knees and some of my pelvic floor. And I'm still like paying for it, honestly. Especially with Ellie, because when I was pregnant with Ellie, that was the time that I was like working out with Matthew and Rachel. We would work out like 2.5 hours a day, and I was in the best shape, like even being pregnant. And so coming back from her, also I feel like a lot of women can relate in this, but both of my pregnancies were like a little bit traumatic. I had to be induced by both of them. They induced me with Ellie when she was 36 and a half weeks old because they told me that they were scared her brain wasn't being fully developed. I mean, just craziness.
Yeah.
And so I was like struggling a little bit mentally from that postpartum. There were things that I wanted to do, and then it was like I went for like this 2-hour-long ultrasound that they did of her brain because, it was super stressful. And then they took my blood pressure literally right after they did the 2.5-hour ultrasound of her brain. And they were like, oh, your blood pressure is high. You have, and with Addie, I had preeclampsia. And so they had to induce me early with her because of the preeclampsia. Well, with Ellie, they were like, I hadn't had any issues with my blood pressure that whole entire pregnancy. But when they took my blood pressure right after doing this 2.5-hour ultrasound of her brain that they didn't think was fully developed, they took my blood pressure and it was high. And they're like, well, you had a history with preeclampsia with your previous pregnancy, so we're going to go ahead and induce you at 36 and a half weeks. And it was a really rough thing. I went like 2 days with like no food. Then I had to like push her out with like literally. Anyways, I could go on and on about that. So it was coming back after that pregnancy. I was struggling mentally and really probably did too much. Like I literally wasn't even a week postpartum and I was in here doing like front squats with like more weight than I needed to do. Yeah. And so that was not a smart move on mine, and like I'm still paying for that in some areas. And so I just want to like reiterate that it is super, super important that you like, take it easy on your body when you need to take it easy, because if not, you can really injure yourself and like hurt yourself in the long run. And and also why it's like really important as women to like lift other people up. Don't secretly wish somebody will do bad. You know what I mean? And like, don't secretly wish somebody's going to fail a weight or secretly wish somebody's going to, like, don't wish that on somebody, because people are already so hard on themselves and everybody's already like battling something that's so hard. Like nobody needs that extra added like discouragement. Like as women and as men, it's so important to like encourage people and to wish good for people, because you just never know, you never know.
That is a rule. Anytime I'd see a mom, I always try to tell them they look great. It's not like, you look great, but it's just like, look, if you've had kids, you know what it's like to then feel like just terrible.
Yeah.
And so a nice word from a coach or a friend or someone in the gym saying, hey, you look great.
Yeah.
It can go totally a long way. And I think you're totally right, because, and I love that about this gym. I've noticed that about this gym. There's no competition amongst people that's like this. I mean, there might be, but there's no bad blood.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
So
I will say, I feel like the community has grown in that aspect.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like people have.
Well, John was kind of poisonous with that, and then thankfully Hudson came here, and he. Is
that what it was?
No, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I feel like a lot of us. I mean, there's like a core group of people that when we started here, we're maybe in our early 20s.
Yeah.
And now, like, we've matured and we've been through a little bit more life, and we've had kids, and we've been through different difficult seasons. And so now you have this group of people who maybe used to trash talk and maybe a little bit too much, not referring to you, but just referring to like, referring to like the community. And now I feel like I have seen our community grow in that aspect. Yeah. I feel like personally. Yeah.
So, Jonathan, I mean, you've been doing this for, like you said, a long time. You at one point wanted to be more competitive, and then probably wasn't. Was there ever a time when you were burnt out with like exercise, and if you were, like, how'd you go through it, or if you haven't been burnt out, how have you kept yourself from being burnt out?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I have been burned out before.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, but that doesn't mean I stop. And there are times where I don't want to or like to push as hard. And actually, it's funny is now that I don't take it as serious, that again, if you watch me work out, it doesn't mean I don't push myself when I say that. It is I don't take it as serious, I get burnt out way less than what I did.
Yeah.
When I would put, just like in business now, I think that the expectations have moved to me in business, but the expectations used to be, and in sports and with working out, used to be on, I got to be better, do better, do more, and that would cause me to get burned out more than now where I do it because I legitimately enjoy working out. Yeah. I enjoy the feeling of working out, and I enjoy the effects of it. So from there, even if I'm super tired, like sleep would probably be the thing that would right now push me most on the days that against wanting to work out or feeling that desire.
Amen.
But even so, I still feel better when I'm done, right? So I know that I'm like, okay, Jonathan, just get through this. Even though I might not be feeling great at the moment, when I'm done, I will be thankful that I did it. I will feel better after. And
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do you feel like, and we don't have to go deep here, but do you feel like when we were transitioning from like the old location to this new location, do you feel like that was like one of those times?
Yeah, I was hoping that this question, I thought I might have just escaped this question.
I mean, we can edit all this out.
No, it's fine.
I want to know this.
I feel like if I go down this road, it's just going to be deep, and it's like maybe more than people want to hear, but I'm not going to half answer this question.
No, I think people would love to hear it.
Yeah, I would say that a little bit different perspective than what you guys offer. I don't really deal with anxiety or depression. That's not something that's ever on my radar. And I will say I sometimes have a hard time empathizing. I try to still with people that deal with those things. But I'm pretty.
You do a good job, though.
I'm pretty black and white in certain areas of my life, and running a business is one of those. So like I'm either everything's going the way it should, or like I said, it's not, and that causes me stress. And I feel like stress is something that I wear probably more than I should, and instead of not relying on God like I should. And I'm going to preface all of this whole story with every time I've gone through something so hard, I have prayed, and the Lord has answered those prayers. Not like the Lord's looking and yet I still go through another hard time, and then I go back to being stressed about all the things going on in my life. And then from a helicopter view, it's like, Jonathan, look at what's happened so far. Why are you still going down this road of worrying that things aren't going to go well, or stressed about all the things that aren't working out the way you thought maybe they would work out? But yeah, I'd say the first very hard time that I went through was when we were moving locations, and not everyone knows this story. Well, building that location again, maybe if I need to share some pictures with the podcast someday. Yeah. But that location was dilapidated. It took us like 3 months of every day. I moved in with Brad. We didn't make any money, and it was like homeless people. We did everything. We painted it, stripped it down, redid everything. And I remember questioning, like, man, why the heck am I doing this? Like, this is terrible. I'd go through it all again if I could. Yeah. But that was a terrible. But then you go through 5 years of. Brad worked some in the beginning. They moved to Charlotte. Brittany started to come on, but we didn't have a ton of coaches, and I was just doing a lot and thinking, like, back at it now, I'm like, how did I do that much? Meaning, like, getting up every morning at 4 something in the morning, staying to the gym, because we used to have a 7 p.m. class, too.
Yeah. I'm so glad we don't have that anymore. I know.
And so looking back, it was like I would spend all day and every day, and then still hearing people, and it was not often, but I used to wear this of like, hey, like something's not right in the gym. I was like, shoot, I got to do more. And yet I was just like doing way more than I could even handle. That wasn't really the hard part, though. I think that helped me become who I am today. Yeah. The hard part was when we were getting ready to, our lease was ending. We knew we had to, it was like, all right, what's next, right? And big shout out to Brad, because he also wasn't here, but had the vision and shared the vision of like, okay, let's continue. And I think some of that was for Brittany and myself, because this was everything that we had. Yeah. We'd already put in 5.5 years, and it was everything that we had, basically. And so yeah, as going through that time, we couldn't buy the land up there because they wanted $2.2 million. Long story short, they didn't honor their first right of refusal, and we kind of got into a little legal argument that we were trying to stay just a little bit longer. We found this land for sale. It was a great price. Going through the loan process was stressful just because they want to know anything and everything, and you don't know if it's going to work. We got turned down by a few banks. And it's kind of like, is this coming to an end after 5 years of everything that I've done the past years? Is this it? But again, I'm trying to condense this as much as I can.
This is good. Keep going. No, you're doing great.
You're good.
People want to know this stuff. I'm telling you.
Yes,
it's true.
We had already bought this property. We were building the gym and had some issues with some contractors not meeting up to what we were promised, financial issues. But long story short, we were getting kicked out of where we were. We weren't done with this building here. And and I knew it was coming. The guy that owned the building, that bought the building from under us, had been generous, believe it or not, and given us an extended amount of time, but was like, at this date, you're out. Well, that date was fast approaching, and this wasn't done. And it's, again, I've contacted all the, trying to find a short-term rental, the churches using gymnasiums. Like, we went through all those roads, right, and couldn't find a solution. So, again, it's like, well, if I stop business, we have so much money going out because of this business. In fact, me and Brad, a lot of people don't know this, had to maximize our own credit cards because the gym couldn't afford to pay. Yeah. So I'm ruining my credit, and I couldn't even make the payments. Like, it was a hard time. And so we went through that, and I knew the time was coming. I remember during that time I would go over to Starbucks, and I still have them. And because, again, I think you guys, most people heard, journaling is something that has started then for me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'd go to Starbucks, and I just it's fun to go back. I actually get goosebumps a little bit because I can look back in those journals, and I would just write down every day, Lord, I don't know what's happening, but I need a miracle. And I would write that every day in a journal for probably 3 months. Like, every day I'd go over to Starbucks because there was no office. I know you weren't there. You were. Yeah. There was no office, so I couldn't get away anywhere. And I had to be there most of the day. So I'd run over to Starbucks and just read my Bible and pray and journal and be like, Lord, I need a miracle. Well, the day was coming where we had to be out of the old gym. Like, when I say that, I think that we had to be out of there by Monday. And it's Friday. And nothing. And we're like, well, I guess we're going to get kicked out because we don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
This building wasn't done. And again, I'm condensing this, but we had a fire marshal come in. He's like, so, what's going on? I'm like, well, we have to be out of here. And even our members, a few people kind of caught wind. They're like, well, what's going on? I would just be like, I don't know. We're just going to hang out. But if we did, there would have been a lot of issues where a lot of, problems would have occurred if I would have tried to continue business when we were supposed to be out. Yeah. And when I say that also, we had offered this new guy that owned the building a ton of money, trying to get us to let us stay there longer. And he was done with it. So, on a Friday, I met with a fire marshal, and when I say this building wasn't done, there was no doors on this building, there was no electricity, there was no bathrooms, and I just was like, hey man, and he's like, well, what is your plan? I was like, my plan is I need a miracle, and I was like, and so is there anything that you can do? And he's like, let me get back to you. And again, I don't remember the next sequence events, but long story short, I had one of the countymen from Greenville call me, and we kind of talked through some things. He's like, all right, here's the deal. I've never done this in my life, but I will let you guys have access to the gymnasium. And this is a Friday, and keep in mind, we would have been sued if we were not. We had gotten letters in the mail, and this is why I was stressed. We were getting letters in the mail from the new owner threatening to sue and take everything that we had because we weren't getting out of the location when we were supposed to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday, I meet with this guy, and he's like, I will let you have access to and move your stuff and let your members work out because of the open doors and things like that. So I was like, guys, I sent out a mass email Saturday. We're moving everything to the new gym.
And
keep in mind,
everybody showed up.
Everybody. Oh, it was great. We had a community event. It was Saturday. We worked out. It was the last workout there, and then we moved out everything. We had so many people show up. It was great. People, when it was their anniversaries, birthdays, everything, people showing up, moved all of our stuff into the new location, kind of dropped it in a day. And I still remember this to this day. That next week, we were like, well, we're picking up classes. And classes started at 5:30 in the morning. We had no electricity, no doors. Keep in mind, I'll say this as well. I slept on the gym floor with an air mattress and a pistol in hand because we had all of our gym equipment here. And so for a whole week, I just slept on the gym floor. That's on the air mattress here. Yeah. no running water. So we bought a bunch of porta-johns and had 4 or 5 porta-johns taken out there with some hand washing things.
So much fun.
Yeah. And while I would try to make lighthearted of it, I was so stressed during this time to the point of like I couldn't sleep. I felt like I didn't want to lose the business, and people still paid us. It was an answer of the Lord. And we had a county guy come in that week, and where I was going with that, he was like, just so you know, and he was an older gentleman. He's like, I've been doing this for like 30-something years, and I've never seen this happen before. No one, like somebody else approved it, and he did. And he's like, I don't know how you got approval. And I was like, because it was an answer to a prayer. Honestly, I was like, I can show you my journal. It was cool to share that with a county person. Yeah. But a few hard times. We didn't have electricity, so we had to turn like headlights on from the trucks with so open doors in the morning and people working out. And I had a bright idea. I was like, let me run a generator. And it just smelled like gas fumes, and people are like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. I was like, yeah, this is probably, we're about to get carbon dioxide poisoning. So
kill everyone.
No, we didn't have any doors, so it was all open. Very good.
So I was like, well, I guess
Sometimes the generator ran out of gas, and like you would have no music, so people would just be like, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. We had generators running, music. It was just a hard time, stressful time. Long story short, we made it through, and look at where we are now.
Yeah.
And then again, going back to then another time that was really hard, us building this other building, we had some really hard time financial things going on where it was taking own personal money, and things just got super stressful. And again, COVID, that was super stressful during that time. And again, so all these things, and during the time I get stressed, and I'm like, oh man, I need an answer right now. And I just look back and I'm like, man, why couldn't I just have the faith that I wish I had? Because, and I have faith, but I still start to question and worry and wonder where we're going next and what's going to happen. Those are all, and then obviously my son's heart surgery, that was another time where I try not to wear my emotions, and some people can see it on me, but I just I had to have a conversation with the Lord, like, Lord, if you take my son away from me, like, am I going to be okay and still love you? And that's a hard conversation that doesn't get talked a lot about, and I'm fine with that, but it's something that
you carry.
Yeah, I carry sometimes, but I'm not like, woe is me. I don't want you guys to think that. It just, those are some hard times that I've been through. And and then lastly, I would say the other thing is that I get stressed out about is I want to make sure that for Ashley, Hudson, now possibly Ilya, when we have full-time employees, right? Myself, for Brad, I just sometimes carry that weight of I got to make sure that what we're doing is bringing more finances, making sure the gym is working, bringing new ideas, constantly evolving and not just staying. And so I would say those are times that I've gone through over the last 12 years of being open that have taken my mind away from working out, have taken my mind off of relationships, and through all of those things, I think that the community and the people and my relationship with the Lord, but they have helped and pushed me and working out to where if I didn't have that in my life, I don't know how I would have handled those as well.
Yeah, man, that's so cool.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
That was great.
Thanks for sharing all that.
I didn't know all that story. So
yeah, it's cool to see, and it's cool to hear you share it, because I know I'm like constantly trying to be like, Jonathan, people want to know, and you're like, not, because you're humble, and you don't you don't always. Well, I mean,
about the right things.
I mean, when you're working out, maybe not. I'm just kidding.
You're a bit of a jerk when you work out.
You're humble.
I agree.
You're humble about your daily life, and you don't feel like you've never been like needing to be on camera or the spotlight in front of everybody, and you've never been like
terrible. I agree.
So bad on camera.
I hate it.
You're awkward on camera.
You've never been like, this is all about me. You've always been like, this is about the Lord and this is about the people. But people need to hear that, like, you go through those things too, and see how the Lord's worked through those situations in your life, and like people think you're awesome. People think you're more awesome to know that those are some things that you've been through and the Lord's brought you through them. So I appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah, thank you.
And I've seen you through a lot of those situations that you have just shared, like the transition from the
you were there.
Yeah. But I can honestly say I feel like you and Britt both, like, even in those times, like, we're keeping the Lord in the forefront and like choosing, like you writing that down in your journal was like you saying, Lord, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm surrendering it to you. Yeah. You know, that was like
why'd you have to go that thick in your accent?
Because
is that what happens when we call upon the Lord? Yeah. Is that your prayer voice?
Listen, yeah,
Lord, I need you right now.
Maybe. So I think that's cool, and I think it's important for people to know, like, you know, those struggles, because this is a huge. You know, it's easy to look at the gym now and see how amazing it is and see how it's thriving, but it's here because of how the Lord has worked and moved and made miracles in those situations. And like your testimony in that, I feel like is huge and can like touch a lot of people because you can literally be like, we didn't think it was going to happen, and the Lord came through in a way like that guy said in 30 years he's never seen it happen. Like, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So, anyways.
And if you are listening to this or watching this, similarly, you probably have something like that in your life, and we just want to encourage you, because it's might be a gym, and you might not be sleeping on a sleeping bag with a pistol guarding weights, but you are probably going through something similar, and you need to have the same dependence on the Lord. And if you don't have that kind of relationship with the Lord, we encourage you to have that. But I would say, I mean, that's when you have to actually be that dependent on the Lord so tangibly, like you're saying, where there is nothing you can do to control the situation to make it actually work out. Right. I mean, it is the best time that you can experience in your life. And so hear John's story and be like, all right, like where are you in your life where you need to be dependent on him? And hopefully you'll find something.
Yeah, because he really can, and he really will come through for you in ways that like were impossible. And I think he allows us to go through those impossible situations because it's a way that he reveals his glory to us. Whereas it's like, if you're just like, oh, it was so easy. I had it all together the whole entire time. Yeah, there was never a hard time. Didn't ever have to sacrifice nothing. Like, it was all lined up from the get-go. Then people would just be like, oh, cool. Impossible. But the fact that there were times where you were like, I don't know how we're going to get through it. And the Lord brought you through it. And he still does. He's continuously faithful in doing that, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see, and it's pretty cool to experience personally. Yeah. So what is some advice that you would give, pivoting here, what is some advice? I don't know, we gotta wrap it up. You're never gonna live that one down.
I'm not. We're just going along.
And
I'm never
gonna live the in the microphone down.
You did it again.
I really thought that I was far away from it. So it is a piece of advice that, personally, each of us could give somebody that helped get us through those hard times, like whether it be something that you do routinely, or what there was some advice that you would give people when they're going through those hard times and how to stay consistent and disciplined.
I mean, tell people. Yeah. Like it sucked to tell people that I was going through such a hard time, specifically people that would rave about how like sunshiny I am. Like people like Doug Hunt, Doug and Suzanne. Yeah. And Doug be like, Joe, you might be the happiest person I ever met in my life. And then I'd be like, hey, Doug, just letting you know, I'm hating myself right now. And he didn't rag on me about that. But like him knowing or other people knowing helped, because then there were people who knew what you were going through. And it's good to have more people praying for you. If that's what if you don't want that, too bad, I'll pray for you. But it's good to have that. And so I just told people, as embarrassing as it felt in the moment, I told people. Yeah. And then that helped me get through it.
That's good.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, because if I am going through a hard time, the easiest thing is seclusion. Like saying isolation, not talking to anybody about it, and so that they can't see Jonathan's fall downs or his problems, right? So it's easy just to be quiet. So just having, even if it's not a community of people, having somebody that you can communicate with. That would be my wife for me, and my business partner Brad. We talk about everything, and so and then the community, obviously, but just having that support system is huge.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say second that, but I'll third that and say, being transparent. Transparency is key. Like being willing to say, listen, I'm going through this, and I need help, and doing that, and then just as far as like the gym goes, and staying consistent and disciplined in the gym, because regardless of what people might believe, we don't always feel like working out every day.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And like just showing up and giving what you have to offer on that day, I feel like is part of, being able to stay disciplined and consistent through life's up and downs. Yeah. Just continuing to show up. Like we tell people all the time, the hardest part is just walking through the door.
That's true. Yeah. Yep.
And I feel like that is so true. So not being scared to walk through the door and showing up and then listening to this podcast because...
Wow, what a good, nice plug.
Are you proud of me?
I am proud of you.
I think at the end of these, we're supposed to say subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Also, if you've made it to the end of this podcast, I need you to comment on YouTube or wherever and say that you like Jonathan's hair because he's now finally doing the hair not cut all the way to the side, and I think it looks better. And I need you to comment on the YouTube video that it looks better so he's reminded that this is the better haircut. Also, like and subscribe and share.
Yes, but I think that's one of the visions and hopes and prayers for this podcast is to be a community in addition to the community that's already here. That maybe somebody that's like having a hard time in the morning or driving down the road, or maybe they're at work, or maybe it's on the weekend, maybe it's a mom, maybe it's a dad, maybe it's a business person, related to the gym or not related to the gym, and it being a way that we can open up the conversation, be vulnerable. Yeah. Although it might be kind of sometimes because, we are opening up, we are being vulnerable. I think there's power in that. Mm-hmm. And we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Anyways, praise. Thanks for sharing all that you shared today. I think it was awesome. You too. Cool. Anyways, bye.
Bye. See you later.